Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. We are in a different garage this week. This is Dan's garage. This is episode 62 of Live at Epiphan, and we got some interesting stuff today. What are we doing?
Well, I mean, we are doing a garage stream again, which is, I guess, becoming the norm for this show, apparently.
Doing a garage tour of all the employees.
But garages are a great place to tinker and test, and we have some tests that we're going to be actually doing later in the episode to start figuring out how we're going to do a live motorcycle stream this weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. For any of our YouTube viewers, some of you may be familiar with the concept of motovlogging. It was pretty popular a year or so ago. It still is, although the YouTube algorithm's killing them. But aside from that, but we have an idea. We mentioned in a previous show that we're going to be doing some motorcycle riding on Saturday, so we wanted to talk about a experiment we're going to run for that. So,
yes.
But first,
we're going to talk a little bit about last week's episode, which I know has generated a lot of comments on the YouTube, and we've gotten a lot of viewer mail about it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But first of all, there's a couple things we wanted to do before we start the episode. One is we wanted to give a big shout out to Colin Wilcox.
Yes.
A couple episodes ago, we said we invited people to email us at our email address because nobody's really been emailing us very much. So he sent us an email to say hello, so we're just giving him a shout out. Colin, if you're watching today, hope you enjoy the show.
Yeah, and of course along that same line, I am watching comments here behind the laptop on my phone here, so please comment with any questions you have or comments you have. We'll try and answer those as we go through. We got a lot of great feedback and comments and stuff last week, so we wanted to do a follow-up because people had some really interesting ideas on the stuff we did. So a big chunk of today is a follow-up on last week. But
before we get to that, I wanted to just bring up one news item. I know you were reading this article too, but apparently Facebook now allows you to promote and boost a live stream while you're live.
Yeah, so anyone who's done, I guess, Facebook marketing knows about boosting your posts to reach a larger audience for X number of cents or dollars for whatever reach. But you couldn't do that on live streams until it was finished as a video, as VOD. Now, they're implementing a system to boost it while you're live. Now, there seems to be some interesting little details with that. A certain length is ideal.
I think you have to be a verified page as well.
Verified pages only. Less than 30 minutes, you may not really get much out of it. And so there's a bunch of little things there, but there is a blog post about it that we'll put in the description that talks about that.
I think it's cool. I think it's great that you can boost your audience and sort of target the demographics of who you want to get your show out to.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, part of a big thing with Facebook is getting interaction and growing interaction, and this is a way to do that. And it's yet another tool in the toolbox. On top of the fact that they, as we've covered in, I don't know, maybe 50 episodes ago, Facebook prioritizes live video over other content. So the combination of these two really, could potentially add a lot of growth to your audience very, very quickly, which I think is pretty cool.
That's really cool. Speaking of cool, I wanted to also point out one sort of video that just went up on the Epiphan YouTube page. And it's a little success story about how Freeman, probably I think the world's largest AV company, is using Pearl. It's really neat. We got to go down to Dallas and see one of their main sort of distribution centers where they ship out all of the equipment for the thousands of shows a year that they do. So it was just amazing to see aisle after aisle after aisle, like a million
cases for days.
Just Pelican cases, flight cases. I mean, they're shipping equipment using cranes and forklifts, loading trucks daily. They have 10 or 12 full-size transport trucks that load daily. So it was really cool to see sort of behind the scenes in their operations, and also to hear some sort of feedback that they had about Pearl.
Yeah, absolutely. So we put that video up on our YouTube channel yesterday. I think that went up. So definitely check that out. It's pretty interesting, and we've worked with them with Pearl for quite a while now, and they're loving it. So we do have a couple of comments in here. Let's see, the first one from Scott Burrow. Hi, Scott. As usual, he just says, hi, guys. Last week's show was really good. Who doesn't love destruction? I agree. Destruction's always fun. And we wanted to do a follow-up on that. So yeah, we're going to get into that. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. I'm really sorry. But the question was, if the devices still don't work, can you do a teardown to see the internals, how they're physically holding up? Well, that's part of today.
Yeah, I guess we're going to get to that. So why don't we ask the audience first, what do you guys think?
Place your bets.
Place your bets. Which of these worked? I mean, there was a few different units that we tried to destroy in various different ways. Leave a comment right now with your predictions. We do have, of course, this one, which was smashed. I think the sledgehammer was the most powerful with this.
That's the one I doubt the least.
This is the one that was tossed out the window.
That I have confidence in working.
This one had a big rock dropped on it, and it was also submerged, fully submerged in the pool.
Went for a swim and then burnt with fire.
Yeah, we cooked it.
So that one, I don't know. I don't think that one's got much hope either. We do have another comment coming in here from Francois. Nice hoverboard.
Yeah.
Someone noticed.
A couple years ago, I decided to do some hoverboard testing, and it's still in its prototype phase, but I'm hoping within the next couple of years, we'll have it working fully.
All right, so we've given our shout out to Colin. Again, Colin, really appreciate that. We promised we would. We were a little late on that. But to anyone else with questions, comments, any of that stuff, if you don't get a chance to throw it in chat right now, which we would love for you to do, you can always email us live@epiphan.com, and we can do that.
Or you could come visit us at Infocom next week. We're going to have the whole team down in Las Vegas at Infocom.
Yep.
And that's June 6th to 8th, next Wednesday to Friday.
It is, yes. So myself, Matt, who's sometimes on the show, and some other members of the Epiphan team, we will be in Las Vegas, where I expect it to be disgustingly hot. And we'll be showing off Pearl 2, Pearl Mini, grabbers, everything, and talking to all of you. So anyone who's interested in checking out, honestly, a really cool, very big, generalized AV tech show, Infocom in Las Vegas next week is always a good time, and we would love to see you at our booth. Booth number again is North Hall.
North Hall 1053.
Yeah.
1053.
Yeah, 1053. Of course, you can always search on the exhibitor maps. We did have another comment coming in, just saying the one that went for a swim probably works. Yeah,
I guess we'll find out soon. We're going to try it again.
Follow up to that is, if they do work, set it up for a giveaway. That's not a bad idea. That's something we might consider doing, but let's see.
Yeah, let's find out first what's happening here. George, can you put could you just put your password into this laptop maybe for us? We're using this laptop as our test bed.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So, first up, I think the easy and safe bet.
Why don't you show this to the camera B here?
Yeah, so we'll do it.
So which AVIO is this?
So this is an AVIO HD that we tossed off the roof.
Okay.
So if you remember, it got a little scuffed up, but generally not a lot of physical damage. This one we did actually test after the show last week because we had some weird stuff with it. That was actually my mistake while we were live. I needed to close and reopen Windows Camera to really reinitialize it properly, and I wasn't. I was just hot plugging it. So we actually posted about this one, confirming that it in fact does work. We confirmed that after last week's show, but
let's reconfirm that.
We're going to do that again. This time, we're not using Windows 10 or Windows Camera. We are using a Mac with QuickTime, which,
Mac.
If you remember last week, I mentioned that QuickTime is one of the easiest ones to use on Mac OS. So there we go. I had to switch back to the built-in webcam and then back to AVIO because again, some of these applications like Windows Camera or QuickTime, they're great and they're simple. They don't do so well with dynamic loss and gain of signal. So sometimes
so that's why we thought it was possibly cooked last week.
Exactly.
But it actually still works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
We've got this is just a laptop. We've got a laptop down here, which you can't
off to the side
see, but we're basically just playing a replay of
last week's show.
Of last week's show on this laptop, and that's our source that we're using. To test capture.
Yeah. So at the same time, you also get to see some wonderful replay of last week's show. So that's number one. This one is honestly in really good shape. So I don't really see. I don't see a big thing here. Looks like Mike has discovered what George Birchall's password is. It was 1234.
Oh shucks, you're gonna have to change all your passwords now, George.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have min. Yes.
Oh yes.
The password is password.
So this one, if we decide to do something like a giveaway for these banged up devices, this is actually a pretty good candidate for that because this is in pretty darn good shape. This would be a great deal if anyone got their hands on this one. I might just take it home. Yeah. So the next one was AVIO 4K. So what did we do to this one again?
So actually, this wasn't the next one we used. This was, but yeah, why don't we test this one? Okay, so this one, I dropped a pretty good sized rock on it. Yeah, why don't we show it on B camera for a moment?
Yeah.
This is the one that I think I dropped a rock on it and it dinged up.
Yeah, we got that
big dent in it. And then other George.
Took it for a swim.
Yeah, he did a nice dive into the pool with it, fully underwater. And then we tried to dry it out
by setting it on fire.
Yeah, we tried to set it on fire.
So you can see some of the burn marks there. It's kind of sticky from the residue of the paper.
It actually kind of smells.
It smells like campfire, which is kind of normal around these parts. It basically gave us nothing last week. It's now detecting, which I think last week it was powering but not initializing, if I remember rightly. But we are initializing now. I'm just going to pop this adapter off here because AVIO 4K is a native HDMI.
There we go.
So we can plug that in. And then, again, we'll have to change our source here to the 4K.
And there it is. Wait. It's capturing. It's working.
So who guessed that it was working? Is that MkII? Yeah, you guessed that the one that went for a swim probably works. You said that earlier. You are correct.
So rock couldn't destroy it, swimming pool couldn't destroy it, and setting it on fire could not destroy it.
To be fair, it's had a week of drying out. So, but I think I mentioned last week, with a lot of electronics, it's very common actually, once they dry out, to work again.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, I've similarly, my fiance Katie, hello if you're watching, she spilled a Coke on her keyboard once. It was like a nice Mac keyboard. She spilled a Coke on it, and what we did is just took the batteries out of it, put it in the top rack of the dishwasher with no soap, and just run it through a cycle.
So the soap's the important one because you don't want the residue in there because it will do it. The other thing you can always do if you want to wash something like that is use perfectly distilled water. If there's nothing else in it but pure water, no minerals or anything to leave deposits behind,
it's going to have a better chance.
It'll be fine.
And there you see, we've got some footage. There's where it was being run over with a car. And I think actually that was this AVIO right here. Why don't we show that on camera B again?
Yeah.
This one I think took the most beating in total.
I don't have a lot of, I'm generally an optimistic person when it comes to these devices, but I don't have a lot of faith in this.
This is the one, actually, we're seeing it now. We played hockey with it. We ran over it with
a motorcycle and a car.
It was still working after those, actually.
It was. It wasn't until the sledgehammer that things went terribly wrong.
Yeah, it was the sledgehammer test you did, and
it didn't work last week.
And we're just seeing a little bit of playback right now. Thanks, Geraldine, for that. So here's where you ran over it with the motorcycle. We'll just watch that. I mean, the motorcycle to me wasn't the hardest test. I thought it would survive.
It put a couple scrapes on here, but that was about it. But when we tested this last week, it was detecting and initializing, but it wasn't capturing. So my theory is that something, because if we go back to the close-up cam there for a second, Geraldine, I just want to show the fact that the end cap popped off of this one, and the board is kind of bent a little bit in there. So I actually think this thing might be shorting, or the connector gets out a weird angle now. So I don't have a lot of faith in this one, but based on the fact that we saw some interesting test anomalies last week, we wanted to give them all another fair shake. So
I think we were having problems with that computer. And actually, we just saw the rock being dropped on the 4K.
Yeah, so I'm going to
do that.
Plug this one in. Again, this one last week detected and initialized.
Why don't we try using our B camera as a source here? I'll plug it in.
I am getting
so we'll go back
there. We need to switch from the laptop there. So I'll take that side.
So we'll go back to our main camera. Let's try it with camera B.
Sure.
I'll give you that side.
Yeah.
Take this side.
Yeah, take that side.
We'll get another source to test here.
We'll go. All right. So again, this is detecting and initializing and saying it has a signal like it did last week. But last week we got nothing out of it. So this time, oh my goodness.
Look at that.
Wow.
It's actually working.
So its initial signal detection wasn't perfectly smooth, but it did lock in. So the smashed one, which
pancake.
Wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. That's
pretty awesome. I don't know if many other capture cards could survive being smashed with a sledgehammer.
No, and this I'm going to be honest. I was shocked how flat this pancake. I didn't really hit it that hard at all, and it went pretty flat.
I think being on top of the cinder block really made the strike even more deliberate.
But it's still working. So the actual results are all three devices, once drying out from a swim, are all working.
It's pretty cool.
So that's interesting.
I'll throw our B camera back up.
Yeah, we'll throw the B camera back up. I'm going to look at some of the comments here. Ben Franken just saying hi. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Ben in the Netherlands. Ron Hoffman saying, hockey, how Canadian? Yes, absolutely. Ron, Mike, Scott all saying, wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. Adam, go do some work, saying, hey, new AVIO Slim.
Yeah,
maybe.
Could have a new product.
Maybe. New revision, Slim AVIO. So, that's an interesting test, guys. And I think this is a good follow-up to what we were doing last week of, these are tough devices. You can throw them off the roof, you can drown them, you can burn them, you can smash them. And
you can play hockey with them.
Not that any of that is recommended, but it's still working.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Now, George, if someone sent you one of these on an RMA, would we accept that?
Definitely not. It is absolutely void warranty. So no, don't do that and then expect me to replace it.
Okay, so you heard it. You heard it here to make it official.
So that's it for this. If you guys have any questions or comments about that, I love the idea of maybe doing a giveaway with these. It might be interesting. We'll see what
let's do it. If you would like, if you've been watching and you would like us to send one of these AVIO, leave a comment in this video saying, I want a grabber or something like that, or send me one. And we'll take all of the comments after. We'll do a little raffle, randomized draw. So leave a comment down below, and on the next episode, we'll
just say, I want one, or something like that.
Yeah, just let us know.
There. The nice part is, YouTube actually does live chat replay now, so you can do it now, and you don't have to wait for the comments after in VOD.
Perfect.
That's awesome. We already have one, MGrev saying, can I have the 4K? We'll see. We'll do a random draw.
We'll do a random draw with everyone who leaves a comment.
So please throw in there. Yeah, there's a few in there. United America. Yeah, there's a few things in there. So we'll do that.
Okay, so let's move on to the next topic.
Knock those off the table.
We'll get these out of the way.
We know they can handle a drop.
Why don't you kind of tell a little bit about what's happening this weekend on Saturday?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a plug thing, so bear with me for a few seconds. But on Saturday, here in Ottawa, in Canada, myself, Dan, and Matt, the three of us will be participating in the Ottawa Motorcycle Ride for Dad. The Motorcycle Ride for Dad is a charity fundraiser event that raises money and awareness for prostate cancer research. A lot of people, this is a weird, touchy subject for a lot of men. So for us, it's an important one to bring up because in Canada, I can give you the stats. 1 in 7 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer. That's a huge number. And it's super treatable. All you got to do is get tested. So starting at age 40, it's critical to get tested. So for me, I've been lucky that my family hasn't been impacted, but we have friends, of course.
I think most people know somebody who has.
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to do this about awareness, not about money. Although our team, the three of us, we raised our goal, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, fantastic.
But it's mostly about awareness. But then we thought, how can we twist this and do something interesting? And you thought, well, why don't we just live stream the ride?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we tried doing a mobile car stream before, and we had terrible results, let's be honest.
Exactly.
But we learned from it quite a bit. And we've been wanting to make another attempt at a similar production.
So this is a chance.
Yes, to do that.
So we wanted to do something different. So maybe give us your concept and idea.
So the concept is since we're going to have 3 riders. The original concept was 3 riders, 3 cameras, and to use YouTube's multi-camera feature to allow the viewer to select which rider's perspective that they would see. So each rider would have a GoPro mounted somewhere on their bike or perhaps on their helmet, and we would set up the event in YouTube in advance with 3 cameras, and then we would allow the viewer to select which camera. And in order to get the stream to work, we would use Webcaster X2, of course, which is great for mobile live streaming. And each rider would have a little mobile setup on the bike with them.
So this is an interesting concept that we have not pre-tested.
No.
To this moment, we have not pre-tested any of this.
This is the pre-test.
Aside from one thing, we do know that multiple Webcaster X2s synchronized to the same YouTube account, which we'll be doing, and if you set up an event as a multicam event, we did a YouTube multicam episode long time ago.
When you're setting up your YouTube event in the ingestion settings, there's a little tab that says add a camera. And it basically creates like a sub event, which Webcaster API will recognize. So when you go to choose your event stream location with your Webcaster, if you have multiple cameras under the umbrella of one event, it allows you to select which one you're streaming to.
And then in the YouTube player for viewers, they'll see an icon for camera and be able to select the different cameras. Now in our case, our goal is to select different riders. One might be Dan, one might be myself, and see our perspective during the ride on Saturday. So how are we gonna do that?
So what we need to do is very similar to what we've talked about in the past, which is a mobile live streaming setup using Webcaster X2. So let's start to pull out some of the parts, okay? So
Webcaster.
we of course need a Webcaster. We're gonna need to power this somehow. So how are we gonna do that?
Well, we've talked about this a lot, and it's actually one of our #1 questions we get on live chat day to day with our support team is what battery and what cable do I need to power a Webcaster in a mobile way? USB to barrel, we can put the specs in there. We've talked about them before. This is not the Adafruit cable we often recommend, but it is very similar.
It's the StarTech cable.
Yeah, this one is important. One of the specs we should look at is it a high enough gauge cable to run the power we need? One of the tricks with powering a Webcaster that we already know from previous experiments is we need a 3 amp supply.
Got it.
So ideally, your USB to barrel plug is going to be at least 22 American wire gauge in order to carry 3 amps stable.
This gauge feels pretty good on this StarTech cable. And what is that, barrel type B?
It's barrel N, I think is what they classify it as. It's like 2.1 millimeters and stuff like that. George is going to take his laptop out of there and play with some stuff. So yeah, so this one we'll see. This one's labeled as 28 wire gauge, but we have some backup cables just in case. But this is one that might work.
So with the power, we're going to need a battery to power this off.
Yes.
And actually, we just got this shipment just about an hour ago from Amazon. So why don't we unbox it right now? George, do you want to do the honors, or why don't you take a look at chat?
Yeah, I'm looking at chat here. We're getting a ton of people saying they want one of the AVIOs, so keep it coming, guys. We really appreciate that, and we'll do that draw. Ron's saying we should definitely do this, and I assume that's in reference to our live stream. And you're right, we definitely will. We just don't know if it's going to work. Emgrav's asking, he's curious about what the insides of the capture cards look like. Yeah, you know, they're a PCB with a bunch of stuff on it. I can't really dismantle one of those very easily. The one that has no cap, it's so jammed in there, it's not coming apart. So
there's 4 items in this box.
All right, well, let's get rid of
Thanks, Amazon. That was, you know what, they promised 2 days, but it took 3, but not bad, not bad.
So what do we have here?
So first off, we're talking about power. We got it right here. We got the Anker battery, and this is one that you found and looked pretty awesome. So why don't we unbox this first of all?
Yeah, so the interesting, this is one we've mentioned to several people before, and the reason why we bought this one, number one, I really like Anker stuff in general. I have multiple of their batteries. I have some of their Bluetooth speakers. They make some pretty quality stuff. This one in particular is the 26800 milliamp hour battery. So this is the big boy. This is about the size of something you would expect in a laptop.
I want to show it right to the camera there.
So we'll show this. So this is the big one. It doesn't, obviously it came with a little bit of a charge there, but the other nice part about this one is 3 USB, I'm going to try and get the lighting on here, 3 USB output ports, and these are capable of 3 amps per port, up to. So maybe not with all 3 plugged in, that's one of the experiments, but maybe at least with 2, we can do a 3 amp, and then maybe also power
The GoPro.
Something
or
else,
the
or keep our cell phones topped up or something like that. So these are a big guy. We're going to have to get these charged up. This
Why
one
don't we try? There's a
has
little bit of a
half.
charge. Why don't we try right now, powering the webcaster?
Sure. So I'm going to plug this in.
Okay.
I don't think it's really all that particular which port we use. So got a light.
And there it is. Webcaster is booting
Starting
up.
to power. So it's starting to boot, so that's a good sign. Now, the power draw for webcaster will increase once we actually capture from a camera and start streaming and encoding. So it powering up right now, it's not a 100% fair test, I'll be honest about that.
Now, the battery also came with a nice sort of mesh carrying case, and it looks like there's a USB to micro USB, 2 USB to micro USB cables with it too, so that's a nice touch that they included those. So we have 2 of these batteries, so that's enough to power 2 webcasters. We're off to a good start.
Yep. And then the other item, and this is maybe the big experiment, because I know what to generally expect with these.
Well, yeah, what is this?
This one is the interesting one, instructions.
Let's show show camera B here while you open it.
So this is a USB microphone. Now we get questions all the time about how to get a separate microphone into Webcaster. So I found these on Amazon. Get rid of all this stuff. And these are a USB lav mic. So one of the challenges on a motorcycle, and anyone who's ever looked at motovloggers before would know, one of the challenges is you can't just use the built-in microphone on a GoPro because you get nothing but wind noise. So you need to have a way of mounting a microphone inside the chin bar of the helmet.
Got a helmet here actually, you can kind of demonstrate a little bit.
Yeah, so we need to be able to get this in here to hide the wind noise, but still pick up the rider's voice. So the other downside is many GoPros, since I think the 3s, don't work as well with external microphones as they used to.
Yeah.
It's super popular to use Bluetooth to do this. We don't have those.
And your Bluetooth like motorcycle
the
communication
Sennas,
system.
the Scala Riders, any of those. I also don't feel like spending $500 right now on those.
How much were these, George?
These were like, what, 10 bucks or less?
I think they were like 20.
20? Okay.
$20,
Oh, yeah,
but I mean...
the non-USB ones were 10
So
bucks.
how are we going to get this into Webcaster? We're going to...
We're going to plug it into the USB port on the side.
On the side, right here.
Yeah.
So, and then we will select this in
as the
Webcaster
audio source in its preferences.
Okay, so this will replace the HDMI audio coming from the camera.
Now the other interesting challenge here will be, or actually an advantage of one of the reasons I wanted to try this, although this is kind of bulky, it actually has a headphone jack on it, so we could plug some earbuds in and hear ourselves for audio confidence. So I think that's going to be...
Yeah, that'll be nice right there.
That'll be an advantage.
So we'll know if it's working at least.
Exactly. And then, I mean, we'll probably take the shirt clip off, which should just pop off. Yeah, it's just a plastic clip. And then we'll probably tape the microphone inside the chin bar somewhere.
It's nice that it has the
Exactly.
soft foam cover as well.
thing.
That's going to help with the wind noise a little bit as well.
Now the big question, and what I don't know, is that as it's a lav mic, it's really designed to be down here. What's going to happen when it's here?
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could mount it further up in the
Exactly.
side of the helmet. Like,
that's going to be part of the experiment. We're probably going to run some of those pre-experiments tomorrow before Saturday just to see. So that's what we're planning on doing there. For video, I guess we've already mentioned, our plan is to GoPro it. I mean, why not? Won't be on a tripod, of course. We have a series of different... Yeah, okay, so this is one. Here's another thing to keep in mind. If you're doing this, we're using some older GoPro Hero 4s for this. Part of the reason for that is because we shipped our Hero 6s to Infocom.
they're at Infocom right now.
So yesterday at home, I actually had to modify this casing on the Hero 4 because the wonderful waterproof cases that GoPro gives you block all the ports. We need HDMI and we need a USB to power it at the same time. So I dremeled out the side of one of our beat up kind of junky cases.
So this is the 4. I think the 5 and 6, they no longer use the shell casing.
Exactly. The 6 no longer needs the shell casing to be waterproof. So definitely if you don't own a GoPro yet and you're thinking about trying setups like this, go buy a 6. Just do it.
Yeah.
I know Sony also makes some interesting action cams that have been very popular to use with external microphones. So that's something. I haven't used them myself, so I'm not going to officially endorse that, but I've heard good things.
So why don't you check the comments, George,
Yeah,
see
I'll
if
take a
anyone
look
has
here.
any questions. We will, of course, give you guys a link after the show to where you can find this USB. Actually, why don't you can see the name right there. So if you type this into Amazon, you'll probably find it. It's called a Epiphan, F-I-F-I-N-E.
Yeah.
And it's a USB lavalier
I
microphone.
literally searched for USB lav, and that's what I came up with after a few different things. So let's see, I got a couple of things in here, not necessarily questions about our setup, but just while you see what else we have there, go through here. We have one sort of comment / question coming in from Facebook, just saying he hasn't used a Pearl before, but if it accepts an RTMP source, multiple camera stream can be done to different platforms and so on with RTMP. Pearl can output RTMP, not as an input. It would use HDMI or SDI, things like that. As an IP stream, it can bring in RTSP, but that's a different stream type. But it can output RTMP to something like a multicam, YouTube, or other similar setup because it can stream multiple separate encoded channels at the same time. So what you just described probably will make sense. Another one coming in here. Does the Webcaster X2 match up with the Roland V1 HD multicam switcher? We have not ourselves tested the V1. I would like to, but we just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, we don't have one right
We don't
now.
own one. I have seen no reason why it wouldn't, because the V1 will allow you to select the resolution output.
Okay.
So you can specifically say 720p or 1080p, which is what Webcaster requires. So I see no reason why the V1 wouldn't work. I would love to test it. So if you own one, just throw it in the mail.
Yeah, if someone has access to one and would want to test it, please do let everyone know.
Yeah, it would be great. Okay, so our next step.
So we've got our Webcaster. We've got
our power.
We've got mobile power. We got audio. We've got camera. So we're gonna pretty much put the GoPro and maybe mount it to the side of the helmet.
Yeah.
Is that what you'd recommend?
Yeah, we haven't completely decided. Actually, if we want to grab your helmet there, Dan, there's a lot of ways that we can do this. Some people like to do this straight up on the side kind of thing. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Some people try and move it more to the chin bar area so that they can, out of the corner of their eye, see the LEDs. Some people like to do right on the chin and then kind of drop it down below. That's one of my favorite perspectives, but we have to work with the mounts we have. So we might end up somewhere over here.
Yeah.
We do have the curved mounts here, but curvature of helmets change depending on the location. So we're going to have to be kind of particular about where we try to do this.
We also have another option, actually. Mike Schultz, who's from our office, he actually does some GoPro stuff with his bike, and he actually has this nice, very sturdy Manfrotto arm and clamp.
Yeah,
so
it
you
weighs
could,
like 10 pounds.
So you could mount this to the handlebar and do like a
selfie
type shot.
So we might experiment with that. I've seen people also do the top of the head. I'm not a fan of the top of the head. I don't like the perspective, and I just don't like it. It's not my
Let's
thing.
try chin first and foremost.
So we'll play with these different things.
So we're going to need to
see
power
where we
this
can go
camera too, right? Like, because we don't want the battery to die. So we're just going to use a cable, and then we could run this. This is just the micro USB power cable, and we can run that off the battery as well, right?
That's the goal, is to be able to, if we look at this GoPro that I modified, we have the mini USB.
Point it right towards the camera.
Yeah, we're going to plug that in, and you can see the GoPro's powering up and getting a charge, and it's coming from there. And is our Webcaster still running?
And Webcaster is, it's unplugged. So let's plug it back in.
And we'll see, it's powering back up.
This Anker battery is powering the GoPro and the Webcaster simultaneously.
So far.
So far, yeah. The Webcaster is not at full
see that red LED saying
right
it's
now.
So again, we'll see what happens when we power all these things on. I'm going to power on the GoPro just now for fun, and sort of see what happens. But then we'll use micro HDMI. Probably just a micro HDMI cable like so.
Or you could use a converter like this.
Yeah.
This is just a simple micro HDMI to female HDMI conversion cable so that we can use a regular HDMI cable.
So for our simplicity, I think we're going to use just a cable and not an adapter.
Okay.
and then plug that into Webcaster, and then hopefully everything will work. We'll see. We might need to do a little bit of tweaking first. One thing I did notice some time ago when using a Hero 4 with Webcaster, and I suspect this is going to be the case again, and why it's not saying it has an external monitor connected right now, is that Webcaster has 2 EDID modes. I don't want to go too in depth with EDID right now because that's a whole other world of technical jargon. But essentially, it's what Webcaster advertises its capabilities as on the HDMI input. The GoPro Hero 4 is looking for some particular markers in the EDID, and I know from previous experiments that we have to switch the Webcaster's default EDID to the progressive only mode. So I'm pretty sure this one's never had that done. This is fresh out of the box, so it's not detecting as an external right now.
Okay.
So I'm just going to look at the comments again. But that's, I mean, this looks like a mess on the table. But when we set it up, you know,
we'll have to, cable manage all of it nicely.
Exactly.
Maybe use some tape.
Wrap stuff.
We also were going to use this RII keyboard. RII, is that how you say it? RII?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
This is the mini keyboard we've been recommending for Webcaster X2, and
this one comes in an excellent Epiphan green.
It's very inexpensive, and this will allow us to, if we need to, open up the settings on Webcaster or do some tests on the road. We've got a little Best View S7 monitor. We've talked about it a lot. It's an affordable monitor.
So we're going to carry these as backups. We're going to preset everything, but we're going to carry these as backups to troubleshoot on the fly if we have to.
So this monitor will run right off a battery as well.
Exactly.
Canon or a Sony battery.
So that's the concept. If you guys have any questions or comments about that, or hopefully just words of encouragement for everything going perfectly well, that's kind of our concept. I'm going to get rid of this.
Now, I think people will probably want to know if they can watch this stream. We do have actually a secondary YouTube channel here at Epiphan called Epiphan Events, and this is sort of a testing ground when we do some sponsorship type things or charity type things. This is usually where we stream to. So we'll put a link to it after the show in the video description, but if not, you can always find it. Just
searching Epiphan
search
Events.
Epiphan Events on YouTube. And what time do you think we'll be possibly going live on?
Going to be pretty early on
Saturday morning?
Eastern time, Saturday morning.
You can always check the replay.
The ride is supposed to start at 8:15 in the morning sharp on Saturday morning. So for those of us who like to sleep in, it's going to be a little interesting.
Well, we'll have to get some coffees and get some caffeine going.
The main part we're going to stream is mostly just the parade through beautiful downtown Ottawa. So anyone who does watch the stream, you'll get a nice touristy tour.
Now, one more thing is, and this was our problem before, was networking.
Yes.
So last time we tried to do our mobile live stream from the car, we were using like a hotspot modem designed for indoor use.
Exactly. And I'm not confident that that thing is 100% reliable. I think it drops signals. And I don't think that had anything to do with the actual signal. I think it has to do with that modem. I don't trust it. So we are going to be doing smartphone Wi-Fi pairing. Both Dan and I happen to have Samsung S8s. That's not planned. It just happens to be that way. But we're going to do Wi-Fi pairings individually so that if one of our phones goes down, the other one's still there. So at least one camera hopefully will stay up all the time.
So the idea will be like, I'll put this maybe in my backpack. And have the phone either in my jacket pocket or in the backpack as well, paired. We've got power, we've got HDMI to camera, and in theory, it should work.
In theory.
What are you riding?
We actually have our bikes back here. Actually, it just started to rain outside.
Those who saw last week's show saw my bike, and Dan's bike sitting over here to the side. Matt's bike is not here. It's actually at the office in the parking lot. He just did some maintenance on it to get it ready to go for Saturday. My setup from Dan's will be a bit different. I actually have, this is a bit of a plug or two, I apologize, but I actually just put a new mount on my bike, Quad Lock. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No, but I
they
think
get
you were
a
telling
case that goes on the phone.
I'll show it to camera B there, that's nice.
And then this is a very reliable way of mounting. They have mounts for cars, bicycles, motorcycles, arms, clips, all that. But essentially, it's a 4-point system that goes in, twist and lock, and it's super stable. So I have one right on the triple tree of my bike that's going to be square in front of me that I'll put my phone, And I also have a USB port on my bike that I'll probably just keep my phone powered that way.
Very cool.
And hoping keeping it alive and not in my pocket. So
Awesome.
I should also be able to troubleshoot things that way, hopefully a little easier. I have gloves that are touchscreen capable, so I'll be able to poke around if I have to.
So we'll have to get all of this really tested tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Saturday morning,
Saturday
we'll be going
morning.
live on Epiphan events. So
Right
check it
now,
out if you're
yeah.
interested.
So I'm gonna
Do
give
we have
this-
any final questions from anyone or anybody?
Yeah, I'm just going to take a look
commenting.
here. Ron Hoffman just saying, I'm really tempted to set up his X2 for a bicycle ride live stream. Ron, do it. I'd love to see the results. Other George doesn't ride a motorcycle. He's not nearly as cool as Dan and I. So he rides a bicycle as well. He could definitely try something like that. But if you do try that, we would love to hear the results. Send us an email, live@epiphan.com, with a link to the stream you do, and we can critique. I don't know, but we'd happy to share it. There's also an Webcaster X2 Facebook group that Scott originally set up. That a lot of people share that kind of stuff. So
that group is
pretty
honestly
active.
pretty
It's
awesome.
pretty active.
There's people posting there
So
every single
Ron,
day.
if you're not a member of that group, jump in there and share details that you have. That would be awesome.
Yeah, some of the setups we've been seeing in that Webcaster X2 Facebook group are pretty impressive, actually. I think someone, who
Yeah,
was it that was
exactly.
shooting the BMX last week?
I don't remember.
They
that,
had like
yeah.
a whole video village set up.
Yeah, they had some good stuff.
We'll have to go back and look. I apologize that I'm forgetting right now, but that, do check out. And Scott, thanks for setting up that Facebook page. It's been going great. If there's anything you need to, keep the page running well,
It's active.
let us know. We're happy to help any way we can.
Do have another question here from Simeon Cutts, who actually works for one of our partners in the UK. Hey Simeon, haven't seen you in a while, but I know you don't get let out of the dungeon much. But his question is about, do we have any metrics on how long you can stream off of a single battery yet? No, we have some rough ideas. Again, we know Webcaster will draw about 3 amps when it's fully running. One of the reasons, and so our rough math is that a 26800 like this, we probably should be able to do 5 or 6 hours, maybe if we're lucky as many as 8, but I think that's a stretch.
Okay.
Especially if we're powering GoPros and other stuff off of this, that's gonna knock it down. We did some rough estimates on a Webcaster alone off of a 10,000 mAh battery, could be 3 or 4 hours. It's never exactly what they say it is in terms of capacity, right? So I'm being pretty conservative on those guesses. Scott just saying it's my pleasure. Much appreciated, Scott, as always. Yeah, just taking a look there. And being gift saying great show. Appreciate the comment.
Hey,
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for checking out the Destruction episode. I know that it was very sort of ad hoc, but that's kind of what we're trying to do, is push the boundaries a little bit. So we do appreciate you engaging with the show. If you have ideas for things you'd like us to try or tests you'd like us to do, we're here for you. And just let us know what you want to see, and we'll give it a shot.
We love testing this kind of stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, and if we do it in a garage, it means we get out of the office for a few hours.
Yeah.
So that's always a plus. So I think that's probably it for today. Again, we've hit another 45-minute show too.
The shows are getting long.
If you guys have feedback about the length of show you appreciate or not, please share that with us.
Can I give
too.
a tip also for anybody who's still watching? If you're watching the replay, you can actually set the playback speed to 1.25 instead of 1.
But are we going to sound like the Chipmunks?
No, it doesn't. It automatically changes the vocal tone. And,
It seems less
and
fun.
honestly, you don't really notice that it's sped up at all. It gets you through the show a lot quicker if you want just an option.
Yeah, so we just have one last comment there. Dexter Cathy saying, nice show, great background. So appreciate that. So I think that's it. Next week, we'll probably try to do something from Infocom, because Thursday is the middle day of Infocom. So I know Dan and other George are not going to Vegas.
Sadly,
this time.
I've already used up all my Vegas days
so,
for 1 year at NAB.
So we'll see how we're going to do that. We might have Matt and I on the stream. We might have our colleague Victor running cameras and stuff, but we'll figure it out. We'll probably bring you some stuff we've learned during that show. I believe not long after 3 o'clock Eastern, I will be on a podcast that Rave AV, they're sort of an industry news group that they do. I'll be
Rave
on their
is awesome.
podcast on Thursday at 2:20 Pacific, I think is what I booked. And we'll be talking about general Epiphan stuff. Rave's awesome to work with as a media outlet, so I'm really looking forward to that podcast. Anyone else, please check that out. I'd love to have some people actually tune into that and listen to me blabber on about something. So,
but that's probably enough blabbering on for today. We've gone long enough. Thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, we'll be here every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and this is Live at Epiphan.
I'm George.
And I'm Dan.
See you later.
Signing out. See ya.